There once was a shining city on 7 hills, a place of beauty and freedom. Then, freedom became corruption, decadence, and degradation. But the gods know what once was can't be again. If a son of Rome were to rise.
Okay, one of the highlights of Microsoft's conference was, in fact, Ryse, Son of Rome. I'm joined by PJ here to sort of discuss about the game and everything. Thanks very much indeed for joining us today.
No problem, no problem.
Okay, Ryse, give us a concept. What's it about?
So Ryse is a game obviously set in ancient Rome where you play Marius Titus, and he is a legionnaire, right? And his father was a general. And so in very much a Roman thing, he's trying to follow in his father's footsteps. And his family is murdered in front of him, right? So in his quest for revenge, he goes deep into Britannia and eventually comes back to Rome to finally be able to fulfill it. But yeah, that's a general idea. It's the arc of this guy's kind of, quest and kind of finding himself and stuff like that. So
Now, when we originally saw this, we saw a teaser trailer. There's a lot of talk about what this game could be. We've obviously seen the result of it. Was that a direct path for you guys for what you wanted the game to be, or has this evolved over the course of time?
I mean, the honest truth, there is no direct path in game development. Anyone who tells you that's true is a liar. No, I mean, it's all about iteration, right? I mean, obviously everyone knows we started out and it was supposed to be a Connect title and all that, and we really, we gave it our best foot forward, and at the end of the day, we had to make the decision, is this the game we want to make, and like I tell everybody, when you're working on Connect, it's not the hardware. The hardware is fine. You can design yourself out of this stuff. But you reach a point where you're teaching people how to swing a sword and not play a game. You know what I mean? And so we said, okay, like the game we want you to be immersed in this world. And so that's why we did the third-person kind of, action adventure bit. So, yeah.
With the gameplay, with the story structure, in fact, with the gameplay structure, I mean, how is it? We're seeing here the siege you're taking place in. Yes. I mean, is that just like one of the gameplay elements we'll see in the final game?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a lot of varied levels with kind of different, objectives. I won't talk about them just yet because we
don't want to spoil everything.
We got to save some stuff for later. But yeah, the general idea is that you can experience, in normal third-person action games, you have mostly lone wolf stuff. And so with Ryse, it's like you will have some lone wolf stuff, but it's actually about being with your brothers, right? It's about being part of the Legion. So you kind of become this, battlefield general over the course of the game. And so you kind of extrapolate, what a guy has to go through to eventually become a general and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as you can see in the demo, I've heard comments that like, oh yeah, like it seems super scripted and linear. Then I got my hands on it, and it's actually not very scripted at all. And you can go in these big battles, and you can go hit anybody you want in the back, and they'll turn around and fight you. So I mean, we're really trying to build, something that feels dynamic. So. Yeah.
Now, you've got Fighter, you've got Commander. The commanding elements we've seen in the demo where you're pinpointing particular weapons to attack, particular enemies to attack. Is that something that you'll grow into over the course of the game as you're doing that arc, or is that pretty much there from the start?
So I can't really tell about the rollout too much, but the general idea is that this actual mission, Dover, represents a pivotal point where, the character Marius kind of comes into it, and he is more like, kind of I'm a bystander at the beginning, but eventually he finds it with himself to kind of push forward. He picks up some guys along the way, and he kind of, this is the first time he really starts becoming this kind of battlefield general. And eventually, like, as the game carries on, like, obviously his powers grow and he's able to command more guys. So yeah, it's gonna ramp up and do some awesome stuff.
I guess with that sort of variety, again, we're trying to avoid spoilers here and what you guys might saw, but with that sort of variety, then you'll have maybe different things and different peoples and different armies to command over the course.
Even in this one, right, you see the formations where you block arrows, you throw pilums, you see that, you send your guys up to man this catapults, you can tell them to do some covering fire. So I mean, if you pretty much think about like, how would I like to command a Roman legion, during a fight, I'm pretty sure if you made a list of 10, we're going to cover some of those in the end. So Yeah.
Now, with the combat system, the finishers, they've got that lovely sort of slow-mo finisher with the sort of button prompts and everything like that. Are you guys sort of implementing that for every battle, or is it just particularly for this demo just to showcase that?
No. The idea is that we set out to make this combat system, right? And we wanted to do something different with it. So we have this concept we call mashing to mastery. The idea is that anyone could play it and they could mash the buttons and fight. But if you get the right timing, you're able to actually master it. Master the reaction you get out of the AI. And so you eventually get you work down the AI, you get them to this executable state, you execute them, and we're like, why does it have to stop there? Why do I have to just stop and watch this movie play out? Because we've all played games that have executions, and 30 minutes into it, you're like, really? Am I going to smash this guy's head, then I stab him, then I kick him? So we're like, well, let's continue the flow. Let's make it open up a window and give guys who want to spend time learning it more of a reward bonus, a combo modifier. So that's really what it's about. And I think it's probably one of these things where you see it on stage, you see the button prompts, everyone's like, oh, it's a QTE. But no, it's really about the flow and maintaining it. And you'll be unlocking executions in the game as one of our kind of progression paths. We'll be talking about that later too. But the idea is that if you can imagine, every execution has one of these kind of button games. We're trying to make it practical too. If you use the shield, you use your Y, matches the buttons, X is the sword. And so the more executions you unlock, the more of these kind of unlock as well. And you'll be getting more and more interesting bonuses as the game goes along if you're able to nail these. So, yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the tech behind the game?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of questions have been asked, like what is Crytek doing on Xbox One that's different and all this stuff. So, I mean, first off, everyone knows we're Crytek. So if it's a high-end rig or Xbox One or a freaking iPhone, it doesn't matter. We're still going to push the tech, So the idea with the Xbox One is like, okay, we want to own 6 feet to 6 inches. We want to own that, right? So we spent a lot of time with the next version of the CryEngine going, all right, how can we push facial? What can we do? And eventually we landed at E3, and we have, Marius, the main character. His face is the same as the face in the cutscene. He has full cloth sim. He's got these physical attachments, and so do all the other barbarians around you, right? So when you execute a guy, you see Marius, the grid on his face. You see, the look of surprise on the barbarian's face. So this is kind of the main thing. And then, in addition to that, we're just jamming more stuff into the pipe, really. Like we have this real-time kind of, complex simulations where, you see the ship crashing in. Like that's real-time, dude. We're like destroying wood. We're tearing cloth sails. We're not just doing cloth, we're tearing it in a million pieces with ropes. So anyone that tells you, the difference between last gen and next gen isn't that huge, I mean, just take a look at Ryse. I mean, if you can dream it.
I say the stress.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, of course, I mean, but when you're working with, a team that's constantly pushing things on all fronts, especially, as a designer, they're like, hey, we're thinking about tearing cloth, I was like, okay, if you're going to tear cloth, I'm going to make sure I put combat so we see you're tearing cloth in all of its glory. And before you know it, he's like, all right, we're going to make this ship smashing in. All right, you're going to make it smash in? I'll make sure it's in the frame, dude.
This is just escalation, really.
Yeah, and eventually you reach a point where you have to stop. Just go like that. Yeah, but it is one of these things where, the guys at Crytek, we're constantly pushing, and we're all pushing on each other to do great things. And, obviously, at some point you have to stop, but it just tends to be in our DNA that we stop further than other people would willing to think about even trying to do. So when you see, the kind of, the real-time stuff going on, I mean, it is really a lot of people's hard work that they're really kind of dedicating their lives to this shit, so.
Now, there's an end point with, obviously, the game's release. Now, it's understanding, launch title for Xbox One?
Yes, it's a launch title.
How are you guys now, sort of between now and then? Are you guys going to comfortably make this, or is this going to be?
We are going to work our butts off, bro. I think I'm leaving here and going right to work. There is no jet lag on Ryse.
There is no stop. There is no weekend.
No, I mean, it's one of these things, right? We want to be there on day one. We are all core gamers ourselves. We want to give people awesome products. And when Chevot tells you, I don't want anyone to be able to touch Crytek at launch for a year and making stuff look as good, we take that seriously. So,
well, listen, best of luck with it. Thanks very much for talking.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Have a good show. Bye.